I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network. As MAGA Republicans in the House of Representatives and in the Senate and elsewhere are railing about the purple M&M being obese and the green M&M being a lesbian, and they're focused on pronouns, and they're making up conspiracies about stoves, and of course making up these lies about 87,000 IRS agents knocking on people's doors, and they're passing bills in the House of Representatives which they claim are laws because they don't know the difference between bills and laws to address their own conspiracy theories. Oh, and of course, Hunter Biden. They're promising massive investigations on Hunter Biden and Hunter Biden's laptop. And so the Democrats who control the Senate, who have a majority in the Senate, which means they have subpoena power, for example, in the Financial Oversight Committee, are saying, you know what? The Financial Services Committee, they're saying, you know what? Why don't we hold some hearings on some real corruption? How about the fact that Jared Kushner, when his private business was about to go completely belly up in 2017 because they entered into the worst real estate deal in history, because the Kushners are complete failures in everything they do until they get bailed out by things. But they were facing a $1.4 billion debt payment based on the property that they purchased, dubiously named 666 Fifth Avenue in New York City. And then what Kushner did was, as they were about to foreclose and they were about to go bankrupt, Kushner took a trip to Qatar, and while he was there, he talked about the fact that there was a Saudi Arabian blockade of Qatar, and what do you know? The blockade suddenly ended, and what else happened? Seems to be a quid pro quo, because immediately a company called Brookfield Asset Management, of which Qatar is the number 2 largest shareholder and basically runs it, well, they all of a sudden paid $1.28 million for a ground floor lease, and then it helped Kushner completely get out of debt. And then what do you know? Saudi Arabia all of a sudden stopped its blockade of Qatar. Boom, voila. And that was when Jared Kushner was not some just kind of random person. He was a government official who on his own could not secure a security clearance because the FBI and our intelligence community had determined he was compromised, and he took that trip to benefit himself, which is completely illegal. We're not talking about the Hunter Biden, they're focused on his dick pics or something. No, we're talking about billions and billions of dollars. And by the way, that was just in 2017, and what happened shortly thereafter as well. So MBS, the leader of Saudi Arabia, so he stops the blockade, but then what do you give to MBS as you kind of create this Ponzi scheme of corruption internationally? Well, one of the things that MBS was bragging about, the leader of Saudi Arabia, he said, I have Jared Kushner in my pocket. He also bragged that Jared Kushner gave him classified information from the United States of an enemy list of people of the Saudi Arabian government who MBS then swiftly executed in Saudi Arabia using United States intelligence and our classified records here in the United States. And again, then bragged that I have Jared Kushner in my pocket. And of course, one of the things that we know as well is that after Trump lost in 2020, Jared Kushner received $2 billion by the Saudi Arabian sovereign wealth fund to manage, even though Jared Kushner has no experience at all as a sovereign wealth manager, fund advisor, or someone who's ever run a fund like that. He's not a hedge fund advisor, but they gave him $2 billion to play with because of the quid pro quo here. And of course, Trump and Kushner, covered for the Saudis at all times. And now you have the Saudis who hold the golf tournaments at the Trump properties as Trump's business suffers. And what does Donald Trump go out and say? Donald Trump says that, 9/11, we don't really know much about it. But this is true. I mean, it's hard to fathom. Here, let me play this clip for you. In a little bit, I'm going to play for you the clip, though, of Ron Johnson from Wisconsin, who went on Meet the Press, and he was asked about Kushner being under investigation and how he believes that Hunter should be under investigation, but not Jared Kushner. But just so you remember, this is Donald Trump at his golf course because the Saudis gave him a lot of money recently to play golf there. He said that a lot isn't known about 9/11. There's still a lot of unanswered questions. Spreading 9/11 conspiracies. Play the clip.
You're so closely associated with the city of New York. Yeah. You, of all people, understand the passion surrounding 9/11. What do you say to those family members who protested earlier this week and will be doing so again on Friday?
Well, nobody's gotten to the bottom of 9/11, unfortunately, and they should have, as to the maniacs that did that horrible thing to our city, to our country, to the world. So nobody's really been there.
You know, I can make this connection now, but when I first saw that clip, I was horrified by it, as anyone should be. But you think about how these Republicans just lie about 9/11 all the time. I mean, how horrific is that? I mean, just think about George Santos, who lied that his mom died in 9/11, that his mom survived 9/11, and that his dad survived 9/11. Just all complete lies. All right. Now, here's the clip from Meet the Press of Ron Johnson, MAGA extremist and Russian sympathizer from Wisconsin. Senator, MAGA extremist. Play this clip. This is him on Meet the Press, where, you know, I think Chuck Todd actually did a pretty good job in this interview. You know, when Chuck Todd asked him, he said, well, you want to hold these investigations of Hunter Biden. Well, the Democrats in the Senate want to have these investigations of Jared Kushner. What do you think about it? And of course, Ron Johnson was just like, all you want to do is shout at me. He can't even address the question because all these MAGA Republicans are just complete frauds. Here's Ron Johnson. Play the clip.
I have skepticism of both parties. I sit here with skepticism of a lot of people's work. And I'm curious, were you at all concerned? Your Senate Democrats want to investigate Jared Kushner's loan from the Qatari government when he was working in the government negotiating many things in the Middle East. Are you not concerned about that? And I say that because it seems to me if you're concerned about what Hunter Biden did, you should be equally outraged about what Jared Kushner did.
I'm concerned about getting the truth. I don't target individuals.
You don't? You're targeting Hunter Biden multiple times on this show, Senator. You're targeting an individual.
Chuck, Chuck, you know, part of the problem, and this is pretty obvious to anybody watching this, is you don't invite me on to interview me. You invite me on to argue with me. You know, I'm just trying to lay out the facts that certainly Senator Grassley and I uncovered. They were suppressed. They were censored. They interfered in the 2020 election. Conservatives understand that. Unfortunately, liberals in the media don't. And that's part of the things that, part of the reasons our politics are inflamed is we do not have an unbiased media. We don't. It's unfortunate. I'm all for a free press. Well, it needs to be more unbiased.
Senator,
there's misinformation on both sides, but the censorship and suppression
look, we're trying to do issues here
from the left.
Partisan cable. Look, you can go back on your partisan cable cocoon and talk about media bias all you want. I understand it's part of your identity.
Yeah, he just ducks the question and then yells at Chuck Todd, and then Chuck Todd says, well, you know, and Chuck Todd moves on. I guess that's where I should criticize Chuck Todd for, because Chuck Todd's like, all right, you just want to be on your own cocoon, your right-wing cocoon. Then he asks him about Brazil. Now, he should stick there and say, no, what do you think about Jared Kushner? Do you support that? Just keep hitting him with the question. Do you support what Kushner did? Do you think that Kushner should be investigated? All very fair questions. And, you know, with these MAGA Republicans, it's not even just projection, because anything that they've accused Hunter of, who was not representing the United States government at all. I mean, and by the way, my own view of Hunter is I genuinely don't care. If they find criminal conduct, do what you got to do. I mean, I support law and order, but notice that the MAGA Republicans aren't even focused on any kind of purported tax issues or even what any criminal investigations on. Like, they are obsessed about the dick pics, and they are obsessed about who he was having sex with. I mean, it's very, very, very weird, and also very telling of the kind of MAGA Republican psyche, but none of that I care about. What I do care about, though, is if someone who's representing our government as a major leader who couldn't get a security clearance like Kushner is getting billions of dollars. billions. And look, the MAGA Republicans just make up facts because they're trying to conflate and distract. But it's a very simple story with Kushner. Kushner sold out our nation. Jared Kushner is a traitor. It's very simple. He gave classified information to Saudi Arabia. He had a very special relationship with authoritarians, whether it's in Qatar, whether it's Saudi Arabia, whereby he sold our nation's interests for his own benefit. It's very clear. It's not a complicated, convoluted fact. And frankly, we need to be shouting it out and pointing our finger at that little corrupt criminal, Jared Kushner, that piece of crap. There's no other way around it. That's who he is. It makes me very angry that there's no accountability there because he's clearly a traitor to this country, a despicable person, a cancer to this country, an incompetent loser who's used his proximity to power to try to cause great harm to our country. What a destructive, disgusting force he is. Not afraid to call it out here. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit the subscribe button. We're on our way to 1 million subscribers thanks to your support. Additionally, check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. You'll love the exclusive content at patreon.com/MeidasTouch, but most importantly, help grow this independent media platform. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.